The US and Iran have once again traded heavy missile and drone strikes, marking another escalation in tensions between the two countries. Washington says it has struck hundreds of Iranian targets in response to attacks on commercial shipping in the region. Tehran, for its part, says it has targeted U.S. facilities across several Gulf states and has also moved to close the Strait of Hormuz, which is essential to global shipping. It's the latest wave of fighting after a resumption of attacks that prompted President Donald Trump to declare an end to the fragile ceasefire. Now, Trump has indicated, however, that negotiations could still continue.
That's a lot of press.
Mirzad Boroujerdi is an international affairs analyst from Missouri University of Science and Technology. Welcome to DW News. Now, Iran says the Strait of Hormuz is closed. Donald Trump says it's open. So which of these readings seems like the more likely?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yes, we are witnessing a war of narratives that has really picked up this week with the Iranian leader, threatening revenge for the killing of his father, and President, Trump saying that he's a target, and saying that the ceasefire is over. What we see right now as part of this war of narratives is that Iran is trying to threaten ships so that, as a way of putting pressure on President Trump to really come up and provide some more guarantees to Iran. On the other hand, as the Financial Times have reported, so far upwards of 570 ships have managed to pass through the Strait of Hormuz since that fragile MOU was signed between the two sides. So I think there is elements of truth to what both sides are saying, but not the entire picture.
Right. And just on also getting clarity on what's going on, can we tell what level of escalation we're at based on the targets either side is hitting?
Well, if on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say maybe we are at a 4 or a 5 right now. Basically, over the last few days, Iran has attacked 5 of its, neighbors again by saying that they are, hosting American military installations there. The question really is that Iran feels that the passage through Omani water undermines its authority in the Strait of Hormuz, right? And it's trying to basically put an end to this alternative path that the U.S. is in favor of. Now, the question is, will the U.S. attacks deter Iran or not? I am not sure that this is necessarily going to deter the new hawkish leadership in Iran. And if anything, it might persuade them to resort to bolder attacks on the Gulf states. For example, if they decide to go after energy resources or water salination installations in the Gulf states.
So you're saying rather than providing an advantage, these strikes would actually provoke the other side?
Yeah, so it's really a high-stake gamble, right? We saw that Iran rejected the U.S. ultimatum to open this critical waterway to traffic. The deadline came and went without Iran necessarily giving the guarantees. I think it's a game where both sides are trying to see if the other side is going to blink, right? And one wonders about whether Iran is overplaying its hand. And also another factor that is really important in terms of a successful conclusion to these skirmishes is the following. If the fate of a Strait of Hormuz is proving to be so difficult, it might have been rather naive to think that the nuclear issue could be settled between the two sides in a time span of 60 days. I think that is absolutely not possible. And we will see how long it's going to take them to overcome the current conflict regarding the Strait of Hormuz.
So do you see it just then becoming a kind of tit-for-tat scenario that extends and extends, or do you see, I don't know, some kind of fundamentally new phase of escalation?
Yeah, I think, we might have to become accustomed to on again, off again military exchanges and on again, off again negotiations as a new normal. And that might be with us until cooler heads prevail and both sides realize that the continuation of the current system is really not going to be advantageous to either side. Right now, both the escalated rhetoric and the actual firing that is taking place is really undermining that MOU.
And speaking of the MOU and cooler heads, what does all this mean for the regional mediators, Pakistan, Oman, and their strategy?
Right. So actually, two of the mediators, meaning the Omanis and the Qataris, have also become targets of Iranian rat. Right. Iran has fired missiles at both of those places, which again I'm sure does not sit well with these folks who are trying to play the role of the mediators. The Pakistanis are not impacted that much. Right. They are still an outside party. But you also ask yourself the question of at what point they will become disillusioned and feel that the two sides, considering 4 decades of mistrust between them, are really not able to come to an actual agreement that the Pakistanis can sponsor.
Okay. Middle East analyst Mirzad Boroujerdi, we appreciate your time and your insights. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.